The Ritz-Carlton's grand ballroom shimmered under the glow of crystal chandeliers and the soft scent of white roses. Every inch of the room whispered elegance, a flawless backdrop for my cousin Emma's wedding. 300 guests drifted across the space, their couture gowns and tailored tuxedos forming a quiet parade of generational wealth and well-bred prestige. I stood near the bar, wrapped in a navy dress I'd found on sale at a department store, not exactly couture. From my vantage point, I watched my family glide through the crowd like seasoned diplomats. I'm Jessica Chin, though lately, my relatives preferred to introduce me with carefully coded disclaimers. This is our Jessica. She's in transition. At 31, I was the outlier, the one who left behind a glossy consulting career to chase what my parents called sci-fi startup nonsense. What they didn't know was that my so-called fantasy had grown into something that dwarfed every portfolio in this ballroom. Jessica, darling, Aunt Margaret swooped in with her signature air kiss. I hear you're doing something with computers now. So progressive. I smiled behind my champagne flute. Something like that. Well, everyone needs a creative outlet, she trilled, then leaned closer. Your father says you might be considering something more secure soon. My friend Sandra has a boutique in the village. She could always use help organizing stock. Inventory. At a boutique. I almost laughed. My hobby now employed over 10,000 people in 6 countries and had partnerships with half the Fortune 500. But I kept my voice calm. That's very kind of you. Across the room, my father, Dr. Richard Chin, was deep in conversation with his medical colleagues. Decades of cardiac surgery had earned him respect, status, and a rigid sense of legacy. He wore his perfectly pressed tuxedo like armor. The fact that his daughter played with computers instead of climbing the professional ladder was, to him, a kind of personal disgrace. My mother floated through the room in her vintage Chanel, exuding the cool grace of old money, though she'd grown up modestly before marrying my father. She'd spent the last 30 years mastering the art of elite performance. Jessica, came my brother David's voice. He materialized beside me, every inch the Wall Street darling in his bespoke suit. Mom wants you for family photos. Lead the way. We found the rest of the family gathered by the marble fireplace. The photographer began arranging us by both height and, let's be honest, importance. Emma glowed in her Vera Wang gown. Her proud parents flanked her like royalty. The rest of the family, the doctors, lawyers, C-suite execs, filled in. And then there was me. Jessica, can you scoot to the back? The photographer asked, just behind Michael. I slipped into place, used to being tucked out of the frame. Michael, the ever-sympathetic corporate attorney, gave me a quick shoulder pat. Hang in there, Jess. Everyone hits a slump. You'll bounce back. If only he knew the biggest slump I'd faced recently was choosing between a multi-billion-dollar buyout or taking my company public. I chose neither. I liked being the one steering the ship, especially as we moved into AI. After the photos, the group splintered off. I was heading toward the terrace when I caught my father's voice from behind a marble column. Just, don't bring up what Jessica does, he was saying to great Uncle William. It's been a rough patch. She gave up a solid career to chase computer dreams. We're hoping it passes. Uncle William made a noise of pity. Kids today, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. No clue what real work is. Exactly, Dad said. She's living in a shoebox apartment, driving a rusty Honda, claiming she's building some tech empire. It's been 3 years of this fantasy. What kind of company? Asked Aunt Helen. Something called Neuralink Technologies, he said with a grimace. Sounds like a sci-fi movie. Elizabeth and I are completely at a loss. Neuralink Technologies. The company I built from scratch. The one that held over 200 patents. The same one Biden highlighted in the State of the Union as a symbol of U.S. innovation. But to my father, it was embarrassing. I was about to walk away when the wedding planner's voice cut through the air, tapping a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Dinner will be served shortly. But first, we have a surprise from the father of the bride. The lights dimmed. Giant screens unfurled from the ceiling. Emma's dad arranged for us to enjoy tonight's big game during dinner. The planner continued. What says forever like the Super Bowl? Laughter and applause erupted. Trust Uncle Thomas to mix football with formal wear. The screens came to life, just in time for the halftime commercials. And now, The announcer boomed. One of the most talked about ads of the night. I nearly dropped my champagne. This was it. 6 months of planning. Our launch campaign. Neuralink's first national ad, designed to introduce us not just to investors, but to America. The screen went black, then slowly faded in to reveal a gleaming lab. A woman in a crisp lab coat turned to the camera, eyes lit with vision. "What if your phone could think?" she asked. "What if your car could learn? What if artificial intelligence could solve humanity's hardest problems?" Gasps spread through the ballroom. My father's voice cracked the silence. "Elizabeth, is that?" The camera zoomed out to reveal the logo. Neuralink Technologies. And then, my face appeared. Not the Jessica in the navy dress at the edge of the ballroom. The CEO version, sharp, polished, commanding. "I'm Jessica Chin," my recorded voice said, "founder and CEO of Neuralink Technologies. For the past 5 years, we've been building the future of human." The commercial faded to black. The ballroom stayed silent, save for the faint murmur of the football broadcast that no one was listening to anymore. All eyes turned to me, 300 stunned faces, as if the family ghost had just stepped out of the TV. The girl they'd whispered about. The disappointment they'd gently nudged to the background. Now revealed as the billionaire founder they'd seen on a Super Bowl commercial. Emma's voice broke the silence. "That was," she blinked, lost. "Jessica, that was you?" I nodded, champagne flute still in hand. "Yes, it was. But you said you were working on a startup," my father said, his voice uneven. I smiled, the same calm, restrained smile I'd worn all evening. "I never said it was small. You just assumed it was." Across the room, great Uncle William, who had just been lamenting my life choices, now stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "Neuralink Technologies," he murmured. "Didn't you just partner with NASA?" I gave a polite nod. "That announcement goes live next week. We're providing the AI framework for Mars mission logistics." Aunt Margaret, previously full of inventory job offers, was suddenly clutching her phone like a lifeline. "Forbes says you're worth," she trailed off, squinting at the screen. "About $12 billion, I said, "give or take. Depends on the market." The room tilted. People swayed like they needed something to hold on to. David, my brother, the one with the 6-figure Wall Street job and 7-figure ego, finally spoke. "Wait. 12 billion? I turned to him. "That would make me the wealthiest person in this room, by several billion." Uncle Thomas paled. "But your apartment, that car." "I own 73 properties across 4 countries. I just like my Soma place. And the Honda? It's safe, reliable, and doesn't scream net worth." When you're worth $12 billion, you get to stop proving things. My mother looked shell-shocked. "Jessica, why didn't you tell us?" "Tell you what, Mom? That I was successful?" When would that have come up? During the job lectures? The family introductions where I was finding myself? The endless reminders that consulting was a more stable path? The ballroom had transformed into an arena, every guest frozen in place, watching our family's emotional reckoning play out like live theater. "We thought you were struggling," my father said. "I was struggling," I replied, struggling to build something groundbreaking while my family acted like I was unemployed, struggling to explain my work to people who never bothered to ask what it actually was. I pulled out my phone. "Here's next week's schedule. Monday, keynote at the World Economic Forum. Tuesday, testifying before the Senate on AI regulation. Wednesday, meeting with the Secretary of Defense. Thursday, lunch with the President's science advisor. Friday, giving the commencement address at MIT." Gasps rippled around the room like an aftershock. David's voice was barely a whisper. "The President's advisor. Dr. Patricia Williams. We're working together on the National AI Initiative." I glanced around. The expressions had shifted: confusion, awe, guilt, and something else, respect. "She's actually encouraging me to run for Congress next year," I added. "Thinks the government needs more tech-savvy leadership." Michael, the cousin who'd offered gentle pity earlier, was frantically scrolling his phone. "You're number 2 on Forbes' most powerful women in tech?" I corrected him smoothly. "Number 3 last month. We moved up after the Google partnership." Great Aunt Helen gasped. "William, didn't we buy stock in that company?" Uncle William looked stunned. We bought 100 shares at $12 each. Broker said it had potential. I smiled. It closed yesterday at $847. Your $1,200 is now worth over $85,000. He blinked. We made 85 grand? You invested in me. Accidentally. But still. The football game continued. Totally ignored. Our ad had aired to reach millions, but it had shattered a few carefully maintained illusions here first. Emma finally spoke again, this time softly. Jess, this is incredible. Why didn't you tell anyone? I looked at her, at all of them. Because no one asked. Emma, in 3 years, not one person asked what I was really building. You all assumed failure, because success didn't look like yours. But we could have supported you, Mom said quietly. We could have been proud. You could have, I agreed, but instead, I got silence, judgment, or condescension. Dad literally told Uncle William not to talk about my company tonight. My father dropped his head. Jessica, I didn't understand. No, Dad, you didn't want to understand. There's a difference. The wedding planner reappeared, visibly stressed. Should we proceed with dinner? Emma recovered her composure with a smile. Yes, of course, but Jessica, will you sit at the head table with us, please? I glanced toward table 7, where my name tag sat with the second cousins and family friends. That's generous, but I have to leave soon. Conference call with Tokyo in an hour. Then London, meeting the Prime Minister's Tech Council. Another shockwave rolled through the family. You're meeting the Prime Minister? My father echoed, voice small. Yes, international partnerships, cybersecurity agreements, AI safety policy. He stepped toward me, his eyes full of something I hadn't seen in years, humility. Jessica, when can we talk? Really talk. I need to apologize. I want to understand. I looked at him for a long moment. We can talk, but on new terms. No more assumptions. No more real job lectures. No more hiding me because my path didn't match yours. He nodded quickly. Yes, anything, I promise. What I want, I said, is what I always wanted. A family that asks before judging. One that supports ambition, even when it's unfamiliar. One that sees success in more than one shape. My phone buzzed. Your car is here. I turned to Emma. Congratulations on your wedding. Sorry for the scene. Emma hugged me tightly. Scene? This will be legend. My future grandkids will ask about the night cousin Jessica became a tech icon in the middle of dinner. As I headed toward the exit, my family trailed behind, dazed and unsure. For years, they saw me as the one who never quite made it. Now they watched as I walked away, not in shame, but in command. Jessica, my mom called. When can we see you again? I stopped at the ballroom doors. I'll be back Thursday. Dinner, maybe? She nodded, tears gathering. I'd love that. And Jessica, I'm so proud of you. I should have said that years ago. I smiled, this time truly. Thank you, Mom. That means everything. And with that, I stepped into the hotel lobby and into the life I'd built. One line of code and one unasked question at a time. I could hear the buzz of conversation return to the ballroom behind me. Laughter, whispers, stunned recaps. By tomorrow, it would be family legend. The wedding where Jessica Chin went from whispered embarrassment to tech royalty in the span of a 60-second commercial. Outside, my driver stood by the open door. Airport, Miss Chin? Yes, please. And Marcus put on the radio. Would you? I'd like to hear if they're talking about the commercial. As we pulled into traffic, the voice of a sports radio host filled the car. And that Neuralink Technologies ad? One of the most powerful of the night. Company stocks already jumped 12% in after-hours trading. Looks like tech's got a new queen. I smiled, sinking into the leather seat. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's succeeding so undeniably that your existence rewrites their entire narrative. My phone screen lit up. 17 missed calls. 43 unread messages. All from family. They could wait. Tokyo was calling. My team was finalizing our expansion into quantum computing. Let them sit in their discomfort a little longer. I had a $12 billion empire to run. 3 weeks later, Neuralink Tower, 42nd floor. The view from my corner office stretched across the city, a city that once ignored me, now racing to catch up. The commercial had done more than boost our stock. It sparked a media storm. Cover of Time. Feature in Harvard Business Review. A 60 Minutes segment airing next month. And an inbox flooded with collaboration offers from governments and global tech leaders. My assistant knocked. Miss Chin, your father is here for your lunch meeting. Send him in. He stepped in quietly, suit neat but unassuming. The towering figure of my childhood seemed smaller now, not physically, but humbled. Jessica, he said, taking the seat across from my desk, thank you for seeing me. You're my father, of course. His eyes moved around the office, the skyline, the awards, the multi-monitor setup displaying live Neuralink data feeds. I've been reading, he said slowly, about Neuralink, about you. I didn't know the scope of what you've built. I tried to tell you, I said, voice gentle but firm, but you were too focused on who you thought I should be. He nodded. In medicine, success has a formula. Med school, residency, fellowship. I didn't know how to process something outside that. But I built something real, Dad. Not just a company, an engine for impact. Our AI flagged early-stage cancer in thousands of patients that human doctors missed. We're helping predict floods, optimize traffic systems, even aid veterans with PTSD through neural mapping. He looked down at his hands, then back up, voice thick. I saw the article about the cancer diagnostics. That alone could save millions of lives. Jessica, I'm proud of you, deeply. For the first time in years, his pride didn't feel conditional. It felt earned and understood. I never wanted to disappoint you, I said. I just wanted to build something that mattered. He nodded, emotion flickering across his face. Your mother wants to host a real family dinner, he said after a pause. Not another polite gathering, a real one, to celebrate you, to listen. I'd like that, I said, then turned my screen to him. But first, I wanted to show you this. The screen displayed the homepage for a new initiative. The Chin Foundation for Educational Innovation. Our mission is to bring STEM education and entrepreneurial training to underrepresented communities, I explained, because brilliance shouldn't be gated by geography or income. His eyes lit up as he read the mission. This is incredible. How can we help? I'd like you on the board. Your medical insight would guide our healthcare innovation, and Mom's nonprofit experience could shape our educational partnerships. You want us involved? I want us aligned, I said. Not because I need approval anymore, but because we could build something even bigger together. My phone chimed. Pentagon meeting in 90 minutes. Before I stood, I opened my desk drawer and pulled out an old photo. Graduation day. I was beaming. My dad? Mid-head shake. My mom? Anxious. They'd just learned I was turning down job offers to launch a tech startup. I've kept this here for 8 years, I said, not to spite you. To remind myself that I wasn't crazy for believing in this. He took the photo, his hands trembling slightly. You were so confident. I thought it was recklessness, but now I see it was vision. I didn't need you to believe in the company, I said quietly. I just needed you to believe in me. He stood, voice soft but steady. I believe in you now, Jessica, completely, and I'm proud to be your father, even if it took me far too long to say it. An hour later, I was reviewing Neuralink's latest expansion roadmap. AI tutors being piloted in underfunded school districts. Neural interface accessibility tools for the visually impaired. A new partnership with MIT on AI ethics and governance. My phone buzzed. Emma. Just saw you on the cover of Time. Dad's framing it for the office. You're officially the family's favorite now. I smiled, not for the recognition, but for what it meant. They finally saw me. And not just as the success story that exploded out of a wedding commercial, but as a woman who built something real, lasting, meaningful. The family embarrassment they once avoided at gatherings? She was on her way to the Pentagon. My assistant's voice came through the intercom. Your car's ready, Miss Chin. I slipped on my jacket, grabbed my notes, and walked out of the office, heels clicking against the marble floor. The story they told at family dinners would always begin with the wedding. But me? I was already writing the next chapter. Because revolutionizing artificial intelligence was just the beginning.